Pastor Lou Kilgore here at the High Mountain Presbyterian Church, and we are journeying on with the reading through the Bible, reading with our minds and our thoughts and our arguments sometimes, but trying to make sense of the Bible. We are reading Isaiah with an acknowledgement that Isaiah is not one book. It was collected. I wanted to read this, not that we don't know it, but I wanted to read this portion in this book. Although later scribes added their own interpretations to all four of these books, meaning the four prophets, especially adding words of hope for people who endured the 6th century's destructions, none of the prophets received as many additions as Isaiah did. Isaiah probably began its life as a book as brief as the others, which range, even with additions, from 7 to 14 chapters. But during and after the Judean exile to Babylon, Isaiah was augmented by the prophecies of several later prophets, not one person, becoming one of the Bible's longest and most complex books. Because of its extensive words of hope and comfort, Isaiah also became one of the most popular books of Scripture, both for Jews and Christians, who found its words bringing hope to subsequent communities. In Jewish literature, starting with later Old Testament books themselves and documents from the Qumran community, in Christian literature, New Testament and early church leaders, Isaiah is more often quoted than any other prophetic book. The later portions of Isaiah are discussed below. So it's clear Isaiah is not one book. It's not. Chapters 40 to 66 of Isaiah address Judeans during the Persian period, from the mid-6th century, as interpreters since the early church have noted. First Isaiah, second Isaiah, and third Isaiah come from very distinct different periods of time.
Right.
Very different view than the Bible studies or the reading of the Bible that I grew up with, which was an absolute commitment that this was one book written by one man named Isaiah.
Yeah, long life.
In one time period,
Right.
and who was able to see the future, describe the future, and that many of his, quote, prophecies then come true, which confirms its authenticity.
Oh,
But,
okay.
yeah, but doesn't hold up. I know that we don't like science in the Christian church, but it doesn't hold up in terms of our study of, as I used to say in the Bible study, when you're reading along and you think you're reading an ancient book and you find a reference to a cell phone,
Well, yeah. That would be a dead giveaway.
you have to be willing to say, okay, this didn't come from that ancient time. And that's how they arrive at these first, second, third Isaiahs. There are writings in these periods which mark later periods. The way conservative interpreters have done is they go, see, he was predicting the future. So that when the cell phone is mentioned,
You could say,
they're saying there's going to come a time when there are cell phones.
what a prophet.
What a prophet. Only that's not what a prophet was or what a prophet was supposed to do. So I think we are at 40, do you remember? 47?
Is it that far?
We
Okay, I
did
know
four-
we're in the 40s.
Yeah, we did 47.
Okay, so it'd be 48.
So 48 would be our reading for today. Now therefore you hear, maybe not, maybe we did 46 and today we're doing 47.
Okay, wait. My phone is slow here. Okay, go back.
No, we did this one.
Okay, so it's 48?
Yep,
For
48.
sure?
Mhm.
Okay.
All right. So let's do 48.
All right.
I'm going to push this microphone.
Okay. Hear this, O house of Jacob, who are called by the name of Israel, and who come forth from the loins of Judah, who swear by the name of the Lord, and invoke the God of Israel, but not in truth or right. For they call themselves after the holy city, and lean on the God, oops, my phone just cut out.
Is it,
Yep,
is
wait,
it gone?
no,
Oh,
it's just a glitch. And lean on the God of Israel, the Lord of hosts is his name. The former things I declared long ago. They went out from my mouth, and I made them known. Then suddenly I did them, and they came to pass. Because I know that you are obstinate, and your neck is in an iron sinew, and your forehead brass, I declared them to you from long ago. Before they came to pass, I announced them to you, so that you would not say, my idol did them, my carved image and my cast image commanded them. You have heard, now see all this, and will you not declare it? From this time forward I tell you new things, hidden things that you have not known. They are created now, not long ago. Before today you have never heard of them, so that you could not say, I already knew them. You have never heard, you have never known. From of old your ear has not been opened, for I knew that you would act very treacherously, and that from birth you were called a rebel. For my name's sake I defer my anger. For the sake of my praise I restrain it for you, so that I may not cut you off. See, I have refined you, but not like silver. I have tested you in the furnace of adversity. For my own sake I do it. For why should my name be profaned? My glory I will not give to another. Listen to me, O Jacob and Israel, whom I called. I am he. I am the first and I am the last. My hand laid the foundation of the earth, and my right hand spread out the heavens. When I summon them, they stand at attention. Assemble, all of you, and hear. Who among them has declared these things? The one the Lord loves shall perform his purpose against Babylon, and his arm shall be against the Chaldeans. I, even I, have spoken and called him. I have brought him, and he will prosper in his way. Draw near to me and hear this. From the beginning I have not spoken in secret. From the time it came to be, I have been there. And now the Lord God has sent me and his Spirit. Thus says the Lord, your Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel. I am the Lord your God, who teaches you how to succeed, who leads you in the way you should go. Oh, that you had paid attention to my commandments. Then your prosperity would have been like a river, and your success like the waves of the sea. Your offspring would have been like the sand, and your descendants like its grains. Their name would never be cut off or destroyed from before me. Go out from Babylon, flee from Chaldea. Declare this with a shout of joy, proclaim it. Send it forth to the end of the earth. Say, the Lord has redeemed his servant Jacob. They did not thirst when he led them through the deserts. He made water flow for them from the rock. He split open the rock, and the water gushed out. There is no peace, says the Lord, for the wicked. Who is speaking here, though? Is it God? In some of the verses, it sounds like God's speaking directly, and then in others, it sounds like
Right.
God's giving that authority to Isaiah or
Whoever
someone.
the writer is, whoever the
Right.
prophet here is, but
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, this is a rehearsal again of the, I don't know, this view. It's a view of history. It's a view of understanding why things happen that happen.
Mhm.
And the relentless pursuit of Isaiah to see that even in the worst things, there is this redeeming effort of God to bring about something better, or to bring about something new. So here we are, we're on the dying edge of Babylon, and the rising of Cyrus, all that part in the beginning about, I told you so. You didn't come up with this on your own. You
Right.
didn't come up with
That's
this.
legitimizing the history, right? So,
Right. So I told you, you didn't know the things that God had in store. And so now here they come, and you're gonna turn around and you're gonna say, oh, we did this, you know.
we knew this was coming.
Yeah, we knew this would come. But you didn't. I did. And I'm telling you this again, and I think that's the part where I hear the prophet sort of justifying and saying, but then there's also an invitation for the people to lean into it, to go with it, to go with the idea that God, even after periods of great suffering, is still ready to redeem, like give people water in the desert of life. The imagery is really kind of profound. I just wish sometimes that, I don't really, but I think in order to appreciate what's happening, you almost have to go back into the time frame of those people. You almost have to go back and adopt the mindset and the time frame of this people, and I don't know, and see life unfolding in a way that I don't see it unfolding. I mean, how'd you like to be the prophet to go into the mess of the world nations today and pick out the ones who are friends of God and the ones who aren't? Which ones are doing God's will? You know, where are the signs of that? Where are the signs of, you know, is it, oh, the world is all broken and you know, it's crazy, so therefore we know God's really unhappy with humanity.
Yeah, what have you done?
Yes, and the time will come, what? Will God destroy it? There's a lot of the evangel people in the world today that say, that's what, you look around, why are you trying to sort it out? Why are you trying to understand it? The world is coming to an end, you know, and the time is going to fast come where it's going to destroy itself. All the nations will be at war, and all the nations will participate in destroying themselves, and basically we'll all be dead. But it's like there was I don't know if it was actually a real saying of the Marines. The Marines said, you know, we go in, we kill them all, we sort them out after they're dead.
Right, it's easier that way.
Yeah, I mean, and then there's kind of a scorched earth kind of
Right.
way of understanding the world, and I want to say, okay, you know, the prophets never did that. They never did that. They said, you know, hard times can be understood as you'd have had better times. Like he says, if you would have done what I said, he talks about
Right.
their, where was that about? Oh, your prosperity would have been like a river. If you had paid attention to my commandments,
Yep.
your prosperity would have been like a river, and your success like waves of the sea. Your offspring then would have been like sand, but you didn't. You didn't.
You folks, you never learn.
Yeah, and so now all the brokenness that's around us can be seen as disobedience. It's just the result of not following the commandments of God for all human beings, I guess, right? From whence comes wars and fighting among us.
Like you said, who would want to be the prophet now? Which side would you pick? And when you do, what kind of wrath will you bring upon yourself? No wonder they always rejected their own prophets, right?
Yeah.
It's never a good message.
And I think today, even still, I don't know how to speak about these groups, but there's several groups of Christians worldwide who still believe that modern day Israel is the biblical Israel. They're the same. And so, well, because it's Israel.
Because it was prophesied that, you know.
Yeah, that they would return. They have, you know, this is the unfolding of a scenario that they think they can paint from the prophets to say, you know, the time will come when Israel will be restored, and so the Israel, that name, they make synonymous with the nation. That's why I like the word Israelis.
Yeah.
Israelis points to national political parties and people, and not Israel, biblical Israel. As far as I'm concerned, God, this is so confusing sometimes, but you know, in the tradition of Christian interpretation, the Christians are Israel. Christians are
Oh,
the
I
new Israel.
Oh, right.
We are the new covenant people, that, all of this is, God has abandoned that old plan. And in the New Testament says we are children of Abraham, and who's we? Well, that's Paul. And so all of us, it's by faith. It's not by genealogy that you become Israel. You become the covenant people of God by faith and by practicing your faith. It doesn't matter. But now all of a sudden, you have these people who see this nation of Israel. They try to sort out the politics and all the rest of it, and they say, God isn't finished with Israel. And now God is working with Israel, and there are plenty of people, Jewish people, who say, right, you're absolutely right. We are Zion.
Just give us the money, we'll do what we want with it.
That's right.
We'll ignore you.
Right. We are.
Go away.
We are the people of God. We are the authentic descendants of Abraham and Sarah.
Yeah.
This is
Well,
our
yeah, I know
birthright.
that's how a lot of the settlers and the right-wing fundamentalists kind of hang together.
Yes, they do.
They seem to have similar thoughts.
So-
I mean, even the Islamic eschatology has the end times, a lot of signs. People are always saying, look, it's a sign.
Yeah.
And Jesus will come back to one of the gates. I forget which gate into
East
Jerusalem. Is it the East Gate?
Yes.
And the Palestinians call it Al-Quds, is Jerusalem. And he's coming to Al-Quds, and he will defeat the Antichrist, and the end times begin. It's like, okay, you read each other's scriptures, all three of you. You're all familiar with. So, but what does that do for people living in the now and here? And does that make us see that we have a shared, beginning, and we have a shared history, and maybe we want not to wreck it up? Maybe God is saying, that's a lot of, just get along. I put you all there so that you can get along.
Yeah, but in the story, the way I grew up with the story was, we were to befriend Israel because that's what God wants in the end. God will come, Jesus will come to Jerusalem. But the questions that always banged around, like, when I was a teenager and we'd ask, well, what about the Jews? What's supposed to, that's the big unanswered question, what's going to happen with the Jews, because they have to be treated separately because they don't believe in Jesus.
Right, and the story is that they'll perish with everyone else.
Yeah, they will.
The non-believers. Would that be what Jesus' ultimate mission is?
Yes.
I don't think so.
Well, it would be. That's exactly what we were told, because as my Old Testament professor, Dr. McDaniel, used to say, a lot of Christian theology is about, come, Lord Jesus, kill my enemies.
The Prince of Peace, come and kill my enemies.
Come and that's where peace will emerge.
That doesn't sound ironic.
Because come and get all these people. The whole hope of the rapture, this whole idea
Yes.
that,
And
God is.
that's pretty new, isn't it? It's not, that doesn't go back like a couple hundred years ago. That's kind of a new, all those books that came out about that.
The Hal Lindsey and the late great Planet Earth, that came. It's always been there.
Really?
It's always been there. But it's a little bit like what's happening in politics now is that what used to be the fringe has moved into the mainstream. And so what used to always be a fringe, the reading of Revelation, which is the biggest bastardization of the book of Revelation, pastors don't say it, but the truth is, if you really want to read the book of Revelation, don't read anything that's out there in the literature. Go to literary people who aren't religious and ask them to explain to you what's
All the
going on with the
references.
signs and symbols of Revelation. And what I've always said is, if you read, the book is called the Book of the Revelation of Jesus Christ. It's not called the Revelation of the End of Time. It's not. And in the dream, John
John
sees.
of Patmos. Sounds like he was
Yeah.
on an LSD trip.
John sees a cataclysmic meaning of the incarnation. Nothing bigger will ever take place in human history than the incarnation.
Okay.
And he unfolds in symbols and signs and images. What does it mean? You know, whether you accept it or believe it or not, John did. He believed that the domain of heaven, in its height and all the rest of it, had taken up encampment on the earth and had become flesh. And he couldn't describe a more cataclysmic change in the created structure of the universe, because in the universe was created, there was a separation between heaven and earth, between God and human beings. But in that moment, the separation doesn't exist anymore. And it changes everything. That's why the earth breaks open and the fire comes up and the water comes down and the dragon comes out and the woman, you know, the woman who's pregnant, who is able to kill the dragon, because this pregnancy of humanity pregnant with God. And I think there's a way in which you can hear more of the nuances of other world religions in what's going on, as long as you don't get too concrete with the imagery. You know, that God, what's that song, that what if God were one of us? You know, just a stranger on the bus. That's what John was contemplating, and it was blowing apart the structures of his mind. And that was a reflection on what had already happened, and how the world was now different. And that's why they stopped counting the years from the Jewish calendar, and they started and said, well, that is year one of the new way the world is created.
Right.
And then these fundamentalists come along, and they want something bigger.
Yeah, and they want it to be in the future so they know what to expect, right?
Yeah.
Because that's a more comforting thing, isn't it? Like, this is the formula for salvation. We're going to give you the key to that. And this is coming, but you'll be saved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it helps to deal with the reality of death, too.
True.
Like, what are we supposed to think about the fact that we're all going to die? I mean, you can say, oh yeah, I get it, but boy, when it moves close, you know, I posted on Facebook, I had a friend in seminary, Michael Dowd, who he thinks he invented the word. He's not a bragger, but eco-theology is his area of expertise. And he's worked one foot in the world of sciences and one in theology, and he's done so much for helping to sound the alarm for the doom of the earth, which is coming with our current practices, and then also trying to create what is our ray of hope in terms of how we're supposed to live. Anyway, the point of that all is, he died instantly. He just died. He had come from where he lives in California. He'd come to Boston to be at his father's bedside when he died, and that was Sunday. And so he was there, and he fell down and went to bed that night and died in his sleep.
Really?
Yeah, and they said it was extensive heart disease
Oh, okay.
that caused him to fall,
Oh.
and then he died. But the point is, here's a guy, he was so full of life and energy and love and joy, and he was his brain was huge. But what he was trying to pull for was, stop this kind of doomsday way of theologizing, because it's self-fulfilling prophecy. You know, we're bringing the end of the world.
Right.
We're bringing it. You say you fear it. And instead try to incorporate our own death, the shortness of our own lives, into the, you know, more of the cycle of life, and understand faith in all of those. I don't know. Maybe it will still catch on, but the power of the conservative evangelical theology, which sees the three-story universe. Below is hell, this is life, and that's heaven. It's simple. It's you know, this is the way life is structured, and the life on this earth is temporary. You have a few years. It'll be short, maybe 80 years. to get your life together and organize your life and live a life of faith. It's mostly about personal salvation.
Right.
And well, there's still a call to help others find personal salvation. But get ready, because, you know, the end is coming. I'm sure, I was thinking about this morning. I was watching the fire that was lit at the U.S. Embassy in Lebanon. I am positive that there are gatherings of large Christian churches today who are getting to church, watching on large screen because they're curious about whether
This is
is
it.
this it? Is this the signs of the end that are coming? And they're searching the scriptures for, you know, words that say something that we can
That will
understand.
relate, yeah.
And say, this is it.
I'm sure there are a lot
Here
of
it
Muslims
comes.
thinking the same things. Every time there's chaos in the world, it's like, there's always a few of my friends who go, it's the end of time,
It's
it's
the end
coming,
of time.
the signs are there.
Yep.
Pestilence, you know, these viral infections going worldwide. The rich will become poor, the poor will become rich. I forget how many signs. I remember going to a lot of Holocausts. They were like dozens. And that could be true at any time, so it's like, really? I don't know. But you're right. I think there's always people looking to, like, I know the answer. Here it comes.
Well, it's the same approach that the internet marketers use when they invite you in with, you know, do you know the truth about heartburn? Do you know what really causes it? Do you?
And then you go, oh.
Yeah, follow
And then
this, and it's a
17 pages later, yeah.
45-minute talk
Right.
about
Of nothing.
of nothingness, but they grab from all over the place things that you're supposed to now accept. It's
And usually in the end is like, so buy this, it'll only cost you, $79.99 for
except
the
for
first
today,
month.
it's on
Today
sale.
it's half price.
Because you're new, we'll give it to you. And that's as old as the hills too. You know,
Oh,
I can
yeah.
remember watching those old cowboy movies when you're a kid, and it was always the guy with the wagon going around with the, throw the canvas back, and he's got, snake oil remedies for
Right.
this and for that and for that, and there were people who just lived by that. Well, I'm so glad you're back, because now I can.
Yeah, I was amazed. There was, I don't know if you're familiar with it. I love old cowboy things. I don't know. I don't know why. I can't explain it. But there was a show called Track Down with Robert Culp. It was one of his first, and it was like late 50s. And there was one episode that I'm watching, and I was just, what? Where'd they get this? This must have been a premonition. There was a character called Trump, I kid you not, and he was one of these snake oil salesmen, and he was saying, the sky is coming down, and only I, and this is the words he used, only I can save you. And what he proposed to save people were these parasols, and also a wall.
Oh my goodness.
And it was like, what? And after I saw that episode, the internet, when I Googled it, was like, how did they know to write this? I mean, or did Trump actually see this and plan his life around this episode of Trackdown? It was so weird, but that whole idea of there's a snake oil salesman out there to get your money and you'll feel better, but it's not going to do a damn thing. And in the end, Robert Culp, was like, folks, this is a lot of hooey, but it was just so weird that they used the same name and everything.
Well, what's the Broadway play? Is it The Music Man? Where the charlatan comes into town and he sees kids playing pool and he's like, oh,
Starts with a P and rhymes with
that's right.
pool.
There's danger in town.
Right here in River City.
Everybody should join the band.
Right.
And the guy doesn't play a note on a single instrument.
He has no degree like he studied, and the instruments never arrive.
Oh, that's right. And they get together and they're going to have a big band, and it's all fake.
Right, but it's not in a way because the kids get together and they're
He's
tight.
redeemed lives.
Yeah.
He's helped people, and they discovered that in the end. And so in the end, maybe it doesn't matter that we're deceived about everything. And
I don't know.
I think that the existence of the Bible and the promises that people make about the Bible are like that. They, in some ways, they think that the Bible has the answer. And then they see teachers and preachers like me, and they go, you just complicate things. You know, you just make it complicated. You take away the simplicity of it. And it's simple. It's much more simple. And I think that, you know, the mainline churches in America today are dying because people don't have time for the complexity of the learning that the mainline churches have, or they are opting instead for a more simple, make it simple, make it very, very simple. And when it's simple, I'll follow it and I'll lean on it and I'll believe it. And so, you know, my ex-mother-in-law used to say, nobody makes Christianity more complex than you.
Well,
Like, it is, and you need to move your minds. You need to bring your mind with you. You can't reserve Sunday for the mindless day, you know.
it's the Sabbath. Everything should sleep, including your mind.
brain. Like, that can't happen. You can't do that. You can't, God gave us brains, so think. But when you think and when you read and when you listen to, you know, critiques, different points of view, it gets complex and it feels like chaos returns. It does. And I understand that. And so then what are we left with? We're left with, and again, I search for these things when I prepare a sermon, and I just say, look, we're left with the choice that we either trust God or we don't. And what difference does it make to show that we're trusting God? You know, it gives us courage to go into sticky situations of conflict and try to be calm. But trusting God is visible in our lives. It's not about, you know, well, I get the answers from here and then I go out into the world and I'm the one that has the answers.
Yeah. I think people they are comforted by that, though.
They are.
There is a
Oh,
certain
my
amount of
goodness.
comfort in thinking, okay, I've said the magic words and I'm covered now.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about anything else.
I would love to be able to provide the kind of comfort from what I call objective preaching that says, you know, here, I'm going to teach you how to be a father. I'm going to teach you how to, you know, have faith. And here are the things you can put into place. And then you will be, you know, you'll be a Christian and you'll have the understanding you need to have to be a Christian. And I go,
Good. Well,
I didn't like that.
good luck with that.
Yeah, good luck with that indeed. And for some people, that's enough.
Yeah.
But then those very same people will criticize others in other religions who are similarly just accepting a very basic, fundamental path of life, and they say, oh, well, they're extremists.
Yep. Well, it gets you off the hook for self-examination.
Yes.
So, you know, once you've got your ticket to heaven, then you don't have to worry about the kid down the block who doesn't have enough to eat, or, you know, the community next door that has crappy schools, or, you know, or folks polluting the water. You don't have to think about that, because I'm saved, I'm okay with God. You don't have to do anything.
No, that's right. You don't have to, it's good to go in and have your ears tickled, as one of the prophets says, with the words that say, you know, well, we care about the poor, you know, but you don't have to do anything.
Right.
Because doing, especially in the Reformation, doing was a sign that you are off the track. You know, because there's nothing you can do. You're saved by faith in Jesus Christ and Him alone. And you can always appeal to that. And by saved, it means, mostly then it means a reference to the end of your life. I'm covered.
You're going to go right from, I have faith, to, you're done.
Living in heaven.
What's the rest of the stuff in between?
It's fire insurance.
I can grab as much as I want without feeling guilty about having to share or not share. That, to me, is the big test. And that's the part that makes me feel like there's nothing that assures anyone of any outcome. I still believe it's up to God, but let me do the best I can And I understand in my ignorance that I think God wants us to help each other through this part of our existence. And then you know, you're past worrying about it. It's, your time is past. But what are you doing now? What are you doing here and now? Are you doing something to make the world better, or are you doing something to make it worse? That is simple, but it's hard to self-examine and give up. Jesus said, right, with the camel, the eye, and the needle.
I know. Well, and then there also are the endless number of people who come and take a twist and a turn. You know, the prosperity gospel says, yes, it's not just about afterlife, it's about now, and you want to live your best life now, and, you know, do the things that, but a lot of that doesn't have to do with relief of poor, or relief of the poor, or struggles for justice, or any, it's just about personal well-being.
Right.
God wants me to be the wealthiest person I can be, and the happiest person I can be. I'm like, okay.
That's appealing, but
I'm not really
not
sure.
everybody's going to be
I'm
that.
not really sure it follows
It
from
doesn't-
this, you know?
There's nothing in there that
No.
says that.
I mean, look at the life of Jesus. Is that what he did? No, it is not what he did. He did healings for which other people from the temple were getting paid. Jesus was a healer. He could have been a millionaire. And he didn't take any payments for his healings. He wasn't one of those hawkers in the marketplace.
That's why he wasn't real popular with
Yeah,
those folks.
no, and he was messing with the economy.
Yeah.
You know, he was messing up the
rebel.
balance of how things are supposed to work. You know, one church that I served got into what they call a pumpkin patch. Have you ever seen those? There's farmers down on the border of Texas and probably into Mexico who raise pumpkins because they just grow like weeds down there. And they'll load up a truck, a tractor trailer of pumpkins on your order, and they'll drive, no middle people involved. They will drive that truck up to your church and unload a tractor trailer load of pumpkins on your yard, which we did, and we sold pumpkins. I mean, you pay for them.
Right.
You have to pay for the transport.
But the markup is pretty big,
Oh,
right?
the market's big. So we sold them at a discounted price, and we gave every penny that we made to the food pantry.
Oh.
And that was what it was about. It was a mission.
That's cool.
Oh, it was really cool. But you know who it wasn't cool to? The farmers markets in the
Yeah,
area
right.
who
Who
sold
were-
pumpkins.
Yeah, exactly.
And they wanted us to stop it. They
Yeah.
wanted it shut down.
Your competition,
Yeah,
you're getting all the money.
yeah, I mean, that's how we make a living. And
Right.
honestly, I was dumbfounded. I was like, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
know
you
what?
think you're doing a good thing, and you are, but it's hurting someone
Yeah, you're
else.
killing another family's income, and some of them weren't real big operations. They were little mom and pop,
Right.
you know, but
Right.
nobody's buying pumpkins. Why? Well, because we had the largest pumpkin display there was.
And you were selling them half price, probably.
Yeah, and half
right?
of them rotted before they sold,
Oh,
which is that's just sort of the cost of doing
Yeah.
business. And we still
still
gave
made money.
a massive contribution to the food pantry.
You know, but that's where self-examination comes in. It's not simple now.
No.
Now I gotta think, well, I am affecting, you know, my neighbors badly. How do we work this out?
Do you
not
want
easy.
to? Yeah. Do you want to pay attention to that or not?
Most people would say, no, I don't wanna pay attention to that. I'm doing the right thing, and that's it. I don't, but that's why this is so tough. That's why this situation, well, I guess with Isaiah too, but this current situation, there's no easy answer.
No.
And there never will be, I don't think. But,
I love the image of Family Systems. Family Systems was sort of generating as a way of thinking about how we are as people. They said the best model for us as human beings are those, what's the thing that hangs from the ceiling and has a little thing here and a little thing here? What are
a
they?
mobile?
Mobile, yeah. So if you picture a family, and they would actually build these mobiles, and they'd hang the thing, and then here's dad, there's mom, here's the kid, here's grandmom, here's the other grandmom,
Oh.
and they put all of them on this mobile, and then you step back. and you wait for them to settle. And then what you do is you go over and you just move the other grandmom a little bit. And all of a sudden you see that movement go throughout the entire structure of the family.
Right.
And the whole point was to show visually to family members, you are not an island.
Right.
What you do affects the movement and the well-being of everybody else in your network. And that's, I was thinking about that, the mobile as a way of understanding the complexity that's going on right now. So the United States sends Biden to the region. Whatever your intended consequences are, that's a major shove of the mobile of nations and the status quo, a major shove. And you cannot control what's going to happen up and over through the strings and down. And every movement now with the intensity shapes the response and new movements of everybody else.
Right. It happens so quickly. When he's approaching to get on the plane, he finds out that there was the bombing of, and while he's mid-flight, he's hearing, well, King Abdullah's not going to meet with you,
Right.
and now El-Sisi in Egypt's not going to meet with you. Why is he going? Mahmoud Abbas is not going to meet with you. As ineffectual as he is, he's not going to meet with you. The only one you're probably going to meet with is Bibi. And
Yeah.
what do you got to say to him?
And that changes everything,
And-
because
Exactly.
when his trip was for this and this and this and this, that was
Right.
one thing.
There was a balance
But
there.
when it's like now the mobile is like
It's
pulled
upside
down
down.
on this side, and
Exactly.
how do you balance back?
And it
I mean,
happened
there wasn't
instantaneously.
time to think, but
No.
in some ways, thinking it through, it might have been better to just have canceled the trip.
I think so, and that's what they said. He should have canceled, and then they said, what? And turned Air Force One around? So he's there now. So is he gonna hang about and maybe hope that, in a couple of days, the sentiment in the other nations is gonna be a little bit more subdued? Because they know, they're politicians, the king and the president, and they know what the condition is in the streets of their countries.
Yes.
And they're responding to that. Otherwise, they'd probably sit down. They might have to just do it secretly on the phone, but there's not going to be much they can do because the sentiment of the people is now, look what happened, and they still don't know where the bomb came from.
No, it's
It
why-
goes back and forth.
No, I said, in the mobile, like if you look at the mobile image again, you say, what happened? Well, the fact is, what happened is a bomb went off.
Right, doesn't matter actually at this point.
At this
to the
point, it
people who were
doesn't
killed,
matter. People
where the
will develop their
bomb came
ideas
from.
about who, when, what, where, but a bomb went off, and it went off, and the aftershocks of that bomb are gonna move through the world
Yeah.
to the point where, you have people in Lebanon starting fires and demonstrations against, I worry a little bit that, the turn of anxiety or anger now turns to the US. And people start to say,
Definitely.
you are messing in this, and,
That's it.
you are not a positive player in this, and, whew, the mobile begins to rock.
Yeah.
And, so in family systems, what they try to encourage is for people to realize that science says for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. It's similar to that, only in relationships, we don't always see that. We think of ourselves as islands or isolated.
Right.
And then, who holds the string? I guess it's God up there who holds the string, right? And watches as the ricochets of our behaviors to each other affect history.
Right.
And Isaiah comes along and says, well, don't worry about it. God has it all in control.
Right. Well.
That's not fair, but
Yeah, that is kind of negating a lot of Isaiah, but it's kind of what you feel like sometimes when you read it. It's like, how naive can you be, Isaiah? And he always calls for peace.
yes. But he holds people responsible. He says, you look around and see the brokenness around you. What about
But
you?
right.
Yeah, what about you looking at your life and what you've done and what you haven't done towards the great goals of God in the world, which are justice and compassion and life for the poor and food. You can't change, in my growing up years, I never heard that in terms of an understanding of faith. You can't remove that from the Bible. It's everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, Isaiah does say that.
Isaiah says, this is it in the end.
You
Why
are
do you
responsible.
suffer? You suffer because when you had the chance, you didn't relieve the suffering of people that you had solutions for. You didn't do that. And so now what's rolling back on top of you is, punishment.
Yeah.
You can't live in this world and ignore the poor and the hungry and those who are unjustly imprisoned. You just can't.
And maybe that's the lesson here. It's not who sent the bomb, but why do you all have bombs?
Right. Yes.
Why are you not feeding the poor?
Yeah, don't ask that question.
Well, and us especially. Look how many armaments we have. Why are we not putting, that's the only part of the budget that everybody says, oh, sure, more money for, bombs and soldiers and less for, we can't possibly teach every kid or feed every kid, no.
There's a cartoon that came up on one of my, sites today. It comes 1940s, and it's a picture of a restaurant with round tables in it. And, it's a pencil-drawn cartoon. And each table is labeled. So there's a table at the restaurant with people sitting at it, and it's called science. And then there's one called education. And there's one called healthcare. And then there's one called military.
Oh, is that the biggest table?
Well,
Of course.
the waiters in the restaurant they're standing in line to give food to
the
those that are
table at the-
sitting at the military table, while the looks of the faces of the other tables in the restaurant are like, hello,
We're
can I get a
starving.
waiter over here?
Right, exactly, that's the way it feels sometimes. But the thing is, as Americans, we can say, why don't all those other people get rid of all their armaments?
Oh, that's easy to say.
But we need them for protection. And then you realize everybody feels the same way, so.
Well,
the answer
we also need them, and we get caught in this. We need those other people to have weapons because we need them to buy our surplus weapons,
Well, because of
keep
that.
our factories going, because we've already saturated our own country with weapons. We
Right.
need to sell weapons.
Right,
We need to. And that's what advances us. That's why we get the money to get advances in, that all comes from selling weapons to the world.
the ironic part of it is if you go into suddenly another part of the world where there's a conflict and American soldiers get killed by American arms.
That was in the Marvel comics with, who's the Steel Iron Man? The guy that's the genius of building all the technology.
Oh, Iron
robots.
Man.
Yeah.
My grandkids would know them all. I
Yeah.
don't know them, yeah.
But he has a moment of coming to Jesus. He comes to his consciousness when he's captured in the Middle East somewhere, and he sees this militant group of people, and they have his weapons.
Yeah.
They all
Okay.
come from his factory.
Okay,
And he decides, it's interesting, he decides he's gonna now build the super weapon, the Iron Man, which will do away with all other conventional weapons.
but it'll still be a weapon that we have
He
to,
built.
right, exactly. There's never a time when we can get rid of all.
Well, that was the seminal idea behind the atom bomb, right? We're gonna build a bomb so big nobody would ever wanna put it off.
Right,
And it'll be the end of all bombs.
and when they see the destruction, everybody will say, oh, we'll come to our senses.
Just lay
and-
down all of our weapons and let's all
Yeah.
get along,
Right.
right? And then, halfway into it, they realized.
Doing a hydrogen bomb.
They realized that other nations were racing to make the same weapon, and that now they had just escalated the weapons. They're just
Right.
bigger. And now they're so big, nobody can use them. And thank God they can't.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's hope they can't.
And make sure that you keep doing the space exploration, because we
Mm.
might have to jet ourselves off the Earth and start someplace else. Oh,
All right, well, I got the book
Okay.
closed, so now I'm gonna say, I hope you enjoyed listening into the conversation today as we talked about and solved the world's problems.
Exactly, and we may be wrong.
Yeah, and we heard the voice of Isaiah speak into our world, and maybe even somehow through all of it, we can still, somewhere, somehow, today, tomorrow, still hear the voice of God calling to us as people. So, blessings, my friends. I'll see you later. I don't think we ever got
Anybody? Colette?
Colette did not come on today.
You said she has Bible.
Yeah, why we have to move this Bible study? Everybody's coming up with
You know
something
what?
else.
Yeah, maybe that would be the solution.
Although I know Colette